few people have been asking me to do this for a while, and I've been kind of hesitant to, mainly because potential changes that might be coming, and also this kind of thing is very polarizing depending on your opinion. But I've done it. I've done 3 actually for rare, epic, and legendaries. So without further ado, let's get into it. Future me jumping in. Public service announcement. This is a long one. This is the first time I've done my own tier list off my own back, really. And so, yeah, it has taken some time to talk about it and all that kind of stuff. So do bear with me, but thank you very much for watching until the end. If you do, let's jump in. Hello everyone, Ragewood here, back with another Godforge video. And yes, it's time for the tier lists. But before we jump into them, I have a few caveats that you can see just here that I do want to make clear, okay? These are my opinions based on my own experiences. In some cases, I have sought the views and advice of others that I trust within the community, but if you feel differently, that is fine. This is not gospel. I am not the Messiah. I'm a very naughty boy. Shout out if you get that reference. But yes, it is okay to have a different opinion to me. 2, I have focused more so on general progression where I can. One unit might be amazing in a particular boss fight, but poor elsewhere. I've taken that into consideration. For example, in my opinion, and you'll see this when we get to legendaries, Dracula is not S tier. He might be amazing in the boss fights, but his general way of progression is kind of eh. So, yeah, he has been marked down accordingly. And lastly, this could all get flipped on its head, like with Alpha 3. These are just my views with the current knowledge that I have. Someone has literally just dropped a video as I'm recording this, so I'm going to quickly watch that before I continue, just in case it affects anything else. But yeah, take some of it with a pinch of salt. I don't know everything that is coming at the start of Alpha Wave 3. So with all that out of the way, here we are with the first one. As you can see, I've got 3. We've got one for rares and below, epics, and legendaries. Just gonna move myself. You can see over this shoulder. Double Ds. Normally something I'm a big fan of, but we are not playing with them today. These are just trouble right now. And that is on all of them. That is on all 3 of these tier lists. Realistically, these are just your food champs. Wouldn't waste time with them right now. Our Ds, which you can just see just above me. I love Kate Sith as an imprint. It's not providing too much else, in my opinion. Maria Moravna can be super OP in 1 or 2 waves that are heavy buffs, like double Isis Sphinx. But again, outside of that one niche case, not really. Dagonet, he was only useful as an imprint, and even now it's very niche. So yeah, these are our D tiers. C, we got a few commons and uncommons up here. These 3, Brazilian Archer, Composite Bowman, and Nubian Warrior, actually hit really hard. So specifically for the ways where you have to bring an uncommon champion. Later on, if you've leveled one of these up, you can then use them to actually clear the floor before feeding them. Hasag has some control, has some blaze. It's really inconsistent. So he's just sat in C. Our B, sort of middle of the road guys here, all right. By the way, everything is in alphabetical order. Like, just because Asag's here doesn't necessarily mean I think he's better than everyone else. Same with Bork, okay. Bork, pretty decent imprint. Reduces divinity, if I'm not mistaken, on his basic attack as well. So can divinity or turn meter, one of the 2, so can help with the bosses too. Hippolyta, strong passive, follow-up attacker. So she's okay. Like, you can abuse her in some of the boss fights, but for me personally, and I know quite a few people have strong feelings against this, I don't think she's quite good enough on her own to step up. Minotaur brings bleeds and stuns, so fairly decent. Shinigami, probably the only defense down champion I would suggest it building. Also has Hex too. Tristan is a solid defender. There are better options, but if you don't have those options, he's useful and he's guaranteed. King Tut, he's alright. Brings a lot of debuff. Does okay damage. He does fall off, though, later on. Volkodlak brings bleeds and despair. Really consistent control. It just takes a long time for him to get it, especially with the recent changes to divinity generators only applying to themselves. So that being the case, I have actually moved him down one. A tier, Lady Shock, Icarus, Shishi. These two are great. Icarus does take some ramp up, but if you can get it, it's 60% increased attack just for him, which is kind of nutty. I felt it was better in wave 1 than wave 2, but that could be just down to a stat increase on the waves themselves. Still pretty useful. Shishi, with the change in his passive, I had to bring him down from S tier, which is a shame. But still really solid in the Fafnir fight, but he's not going to bring you that level of survivability that he did previously. Also, a lot of this depends on his core. Like, his core is supposed to let people follow up attack. Now, if you didn't awaken him previously, it would work with defenders. But for it to work with Tian allies, he has to be awakened 1. And if that's not working, then again, all of a sudden, he could even potentially drop down 1 more, which is a real shame. I really do like him. I'm still probably going to use him. But yeah, unsure on Shishi. He could drop down 1 more. If the core does work and you can use Guan Yu together, all of a sudden they are insane in boss fights, but jury is still out. S tier, these are all great. No surprise, a lot of people have talked about them, including myself. If you'd seen me 6 weeks ago, Guan Yu would have dropped down and Lady Shock would have swapped their places. And this just goes to show what happens when you play test and listen to other people's opinions. It's definitely someone I slept on and is incredible. Isolde, another amazing unit, a real stalwart for a lot of early game teams. Don't take her past 40 though, eventually she will just drop off and becomes more useful as an imprint. So just bear that in mind, but do keep one at level 40. Ramsey's really great wave clearer, has acid as well. And Skadi is a control queen. That is our rares. Moving on to our epics then, and once again, we do have a double D that we are not playing with. That is Set. Set's kit just doesn't suit what we've got right now. I'm hoping there's something in full launch, beta, what have you, where he's actually okay. But right now, and no disrespect to Fateless because they obviously put a lot of time and work into these characters, but this guy's hot garbage. Him. Like, I just don't see any use for him right now. He does bring initiative down, which can be useful in some situations, but we don't even know if the bosses are order aligned. It only works if they're order aligned. So yeah, for now, just don't. He's not even good as an imprint. So yeah, save yourself the time. No one in D. I don't think anyone was outside of Set was incredibly that bad, to be fair. Moving down here then. Now, C tier, a few people will probably be shocked to see Pandora down here more than anything else. I just don't like the randomness on her ultimate. The core does reduce turn meter, she can reflect debuffs, but it's all too random, which fits in with the flavour of the kit, but left a lot to be desired for me. Osiris only really used as an imprint rather than the actual characters, so, for those of you who have used him and played with him, let me know in the comments down below. Feel free to @me me on this one. Musashi, it's got some control lockdown, but his kit revolves around taunt. You want to build him with high attack to make use of it. So he's just bringing heat to himself, which I don't like. You're building a squishy character to take a lot of damage, and that's ultimately why he's down here in C. He's not horrendous, just similar to a legendary hero, which we'll see in a bit. His kit just doesn't seem right. Again, to me. taunting people to attack him when he's attack based. Yeah, just there you go. That one being said. Our B tiers then, middle of the pack, not necessarily horrendous, not necessarily amazing. Bastet, I think, gets good once you get her to Awaken 3, when she gets the defense down on her core. Until then, she's a decent damage dealer. She doesn't really do too much else outside of that for me. Her ultimate, I think, has a chance to place Blaze. Blaze in itself as a mechanic, I think the jury's still out on for me. Again, but in this alpha experience, because we don't really want to be placing Blazes on Fafnir. Gilgamesh, oh, Gilgamesh. He was incredibly strong. Now he's just mid, which is why he's here. Like, doesn't do the damage he used to do. He can still be used to do the 2-star, the floor where to 2-star you have to clear it with a single epic. I have done it with him at level 50. He was fully awakened though and in decent gear. Does have some use cases, but he will tail off, unfortunately. Leonidas, people will hate me for putting him here, but it is what it is. He is decent in that at Awaken 1, he brings attack down and defense down on his basic, which is very good, especially in the follow-up meta. He has a stun, but it is a single target stun, which I don't like, although it's got a cool animation. And then he's got an ultimate. The ultimate charges really hard. People tell me that it hits like a truck, it's really strong. I haven't seen that personally, which is why I've brought him down one. If I'm incredibly wrong there and I get to test him again and I can get it to do this incredible nuke that everyone's telling me about, then perhaps I'll bring him up to A. But for now, he's solidly in the B. And then Percival. Percival I love for his control. He's a really good control champion. But it's not as reliable as someone else sat a couple of spots above him. I think it can only go to like 75% chance, and then if they're a certain alignment, it ignores a percentage of resistance. So it's all good, but it's pretty situational at that point. And he scales from resistance, which I thought was really good until someone pointed it out in the comments that even if you build it with a lot of resistance, right now the HP is still a better multiplier. So maybe come full launch, he will improve and do really well. He's not a bad hero, I'd like to point out. Like, he's not bad. None of these really are at this point. But I don't think he brings quite as much as the others. Moving up to A tier. Achilles. He was a boss killer, was the bleed king. I did suspect that bleeds weren't functioning as they should, and they weren't. That has now been changed. So bleeds are going to do less damage. However, his ultimate now works, so it will now remove the bleed and increase his attack. So that being said, he is not S tier anymore. I think he's still going to be very useful though. In some of these boss fights. For general progression though, outside of that, you know, you could argue he drops down one because he is single target and he does need a lot of carrying. So maybe we even put him down here. Do you know what? Actually, we're going to do this live. Because in the waves outside of that, he doesn't bring too much else. And bleeds need time to stack up. So yeah, I think he is going to stay here for now. Green Knight. Single target, yes, but he has a taunt, can lock people down, brings counter attack and drain, which is very nice. Slap a Thunderbolt on him, he can be better in the boss fights too, and I think that might be the way we end up going for these boss fights, utilising max HP and Thunderbolts rather than dot damage. Solid unit that initially I slept on, and I think, yeah, he belongs up there. How to do it? Incredible Defender, Ally Protection, Retaliate, does reduce Divinity meter, and he has some cool synergies with Anubis and Jackal. But the Divinity meter is capped now on the boss fights, but that doesn't make him bad. I just don't think he's quite there to jump to S tier, but still a very, very solid unit. Imhotep, I love, one of the few out-and-out healers in the game. Brings a lot of buffs as well. Sharpen, Stalwart, which can, you know, prevent control. And more importantly, he reduces ultimate divinity, so your team can use their ultimates more often. But again, that needs time to ramp up, which is why he's not one step up. But still a very solid unit and one I would welcome getting. S tiers. Beowulf, starting with Beowulf. He does not do the damage that he used to do. It was actually kind of sad to see the amount of reduction. But again, I think max HP is going to play a key role in these bosses now, so I think he still stays up there in that. Again, arguably though, he brings nothing in the waves, so I could very easily bring him down here. Again, I'm open to suggestion and things like that. Either way, still a solid epic. Brunhild and Mordred are quality units. Brunhild brings so much, even in waves. While she doesn't bring much in the way of clearing and things like that, she gets that ultimate very quickly, bringing Radiance, reducing the damage you take and reflecting a portion back. Has defense up for survivability 2, attack down, and can place Blaze. So, yeah, she just brings a lot, more so in the boss fights themselves, but still very useful in the waves, just for damage mitigation, which is why she's up there. And then Mordred, he is incredible for a control unit. What myself and a lot of other people were suggesting to use if you were stuck, particularly on 142, because his Confuse cannot be resisted. Or I say that, no. His Confuse goes to 100% chance, and he provides accuracy up on himself. So make him high ac, high speed, get him to go first, and he can really help you progress through these waves. Now, he's actually less useful in the boss fights, but that is okay. You can bring someone else in. He is a top tier controller, and that is what we need sometimes. Overall, though, the epics in general are very, I say very, are quite underwhelming overall compared to the rares. If I mixed these two together, because obviously we're taking them in a nutshell, a lot of the epics would probably come down here and the rares would jump up. In my opinion, the rares are too strong. By the time you throw a weapon and an imprint and you awaken, they just do too much that the epics don't. Now, part of that is due to the increased acceleration in this environment we're in. Come fall launch, perhaps we will use epics more because legendaries won't be so widely available. But yeah, on the whole, I think the epic group are the weakest out of the sort of three or rarity tiers, rare, epics, and legendaries. But this is our epics. Now let's move on to the legendaries. Here we are with the legendaries then, and yep, we have another double D in Loki. Like, I, at the moment, am using him as a 5-star chicken. He's got a similar problem to Musashi in that I just think his kit just doesn't work. And maybe it's because I have been feeding him and I haven't taken him to Awaken 5 and, all that kind of stuff. But the man scales off accuracy and attack. He places Taunt on his core, which is going to be the first thing he opens with on Outtro. If you get a particularly hard-hitting unit like Green Knight, like Zeus, something like that, he's just telling himself to get killed, which just doesn't make sense to me. I think overall his kit just needs a rework. He does have a passive where, there's a chance to avoid the attack. He's got Charm, but the Charm's on the basic. You can't place Taunt and Charm. Now, how would I fix this? I would either make him like Aphrodite and give him, once he uses his core, give him an extra turn to use his basic, so he has a chance to place Charm on someone. Just on someone, right? Or just get him to scale from defense, something like that. At the moment, he scales from attack and accuracy. Defense and accuracy, at least you're then going to build him really tanky, and so he can take those hits. But as he stands, I just don't think he works right now. Oh, Awaken 5, he can then cheat death. But what are in reality, people are going to get for Awaken 5 Loki is going to be a long time. So yeah, unfortunately, he's in our double Ds. We are not playing with those. We cannot afford them. The rest of the legendaries then, again, I don't think there's anyone really bad. Like, they all have pretty good use cases. I have, though, you'll notice I've only got a few people up in S tier. And some people you would have probably expected to be in S are not. We'll come on to it. So in the Bs, again, they're in alphabetical order. There's no real order for this, right? Dracula, as I said in the info, incredible boss killer. But for me, he leaves a lot to be desired in the waves. His ultimate doesn't quite hit hard enough because you can't ramp the bleeds up. That's me. So he's not horrendous. You will still use him early on if you pull him early. Like, heck, if you get him on floor 10, when it's your first opportunity to get them, you're going to be laughing, or at least all the way through to, Fafnir 30 and Golden Guardian 60. But yeah, I just think there are better options in the waves for general progression. But he is still a very good unit for the bosses. Build him for those. Hell, incredible damage dealer. And she got changed in wave 2, which made her really good. That's kind of all she does. Her control is baked into her ultimate. You don't get that straight away. She's not, again, not bad, but all she is really is a damage dealer, which is why she's here. Horus brings shields, speed down, blunt. He's good. He's really good. Nothing really wrong to it. He's just sort of middle of the road. Isis, incredible support unit. Again, if you get her awakened, that's when you really unlock her with the mend, which is why I've left her in B and not A. Not because she's bad, but there's a few more hoops to get through to really sort of unlock her. Debuff spread, which is great if you can somehow get a mortal on her, and then she can spread it with her basic. And then you have like an Unhesseneman to increase the duration of buffs. Potentially you could get some sort of unkillable going, but I think the speed requirements are just far beyond us doing that now. But yeah, decent healer, not busted. So again, if you get her from 30, if the pools haven't changed, actually no, the patch notes said they had changed, so who knows. But if you get her, again, she's still pretty good in the boss fights. It's not busted. Ra, underwhelming for me. Like, he does do damage. He can put out some damage, but his kit was bugged in that he would remove all blazes to increase the damage of his ultimate. But he wasn't just removing blazes, he was removing all debuffs. So if you were relying on an attack down to survive, he would get rid of it, you'd then get wiped. The damage felt lackluster as well, but I didn't test him extensively in Wave 2 because he sucked so bad in Wave 1. Also, you can't stack multiple blazes either, so you're only really removing one, unless I'm missing something, so yeah. Let me know if you fundamentally agree, but Ra is in B tier. YDG, I would put in A tier if we know that he's been fixed. Currently, he doesn't place shield on himself, and his skill cooldowns, his core, like the first cooldown reduction is actually a cooldown increase. So it goes from 5 to 6 turns and then back down to 5, which is awful. It's really, really bad. If that's been fixed, I think he steps up potentially. But that's the only reason I put him here. Again, not a bad unit. I want to stress that. Don't at me in the comments going, "Oh, my favourite hero, you're being really bad." Like, that's not what I'm saying. And apologies if that was an accurate representation of you. But I just think because the other factors that are in play right now, he is not at his potential. If he gets the shield, if the cooldown's fixed, he certainly jumps up. A tier then. A tier. We've got a lot of heavy hitters in here. Anubis, I love the control he brings is incredible. If you time him to go after your opening damage dealer and he does enough damage, you can control an entire wave. Here's the issue. Heka, we know, has been changed. That was what was unlocking his damage and allowing him to guarantee a kill. How useful he's going to be now, I don't know. Is he going to be able to get those kills to land those despairs? I think the answer is no. So, you're going to need to bring another damage dealer to allow him to do that. Still not horrendous, but not S tier, largely because of the change to Heka. Aphrodite. Yep. She is not going to be doing ultimates as often as she was anymore due to the divinity generator changes. She only places 3 debuffs, 2 on the core, 1 on herself. The divinity is down to 30 now as well. So it's going to be incredibly important to get initiative on her. You also want high speed on her. And you want to make her to survive. I think it's going to be a lot harder to make her busted. Again, she is not bad if you can put her core on Herc and then have Herc go twice. Still really good. Her ultimate still increase the turn meter and divinity meter of your other units. So again, she's not going to be terrible. But I just couldn't bring myself to put her in S anymore with those changes. Herc should be an S tier, really. But we've been told that his basic attack was hitting a little bit too hard, so they have reduced it. And the same basically applies to Sphinx, right? If I knew that they hadn't been reduced too hard, they would both just pop up into S tier. So I'm not really going to talk about those. This is mainly down to just the potential reduction in their basic abilities. Sphinx also brings attack down and blunt, so she's really good. Vanish, incredible unit. But again, I just want to see what that damage is before we bump her up. Odin brings a lot of control. I love it. But he doesn't know if he is a Slayer or a Disruptor. That is my issue with him. Personally, what I would do is to improve Loki. I would give Loki Odin's core, in that he will place Confuse with potential Corruption. That's how I'd fix Loki, and then I would make Odin a Slayer. The rest of Odin's kit, like Awaken 1, he gets an extra turn if he kills someone. But he's a Disruptor. His number scaling isn't quite high. He's not going to get that often. His ultimate isn't Execute. It screams Slayer. Anyway, that's just my issues with Odin, which doesn't relate to his effectiveness. He does bring reliable control, Divinity Steel on the ultimate, even if he doesn't get the Execute. A pretty good unit. Solid A tier. Pangu has the potential to scale infinitely. The only reason he's not S tier is because a lot of people get confused with his kit. If you can build him outright, watch a video. I have got a video on it. Go watch that. It will give you an idea on how to build him. Initiative more than speed, but he is a stat whore. Is that still going to be possible with potential changes to weapons? We do not know. Solid unit, but again, just not S tier. And then Shamash. He's dropped down a peg. Same reason as Aphrodite. His ultimate was already one of the hardest to get divinity gain of, and now they've made it even harder. He is not bad. The core unit, or the core ability, is still amazing. And the passive trigger on his ultimate is great. When the first time someone dies, he revives them. I just think it's going to be very hard to get the ultimate, and even when you do, it places shield now. So again, he just can't be S tier for me. Still a really good unit though. Do use him, but yeah, I just couldn't bring myself to bring him up here. S tier units. Heimdall. I've said it previously. He was in my top 5 legendary heroes. This is before we knew all the changes. I think he is possibly the most complete legendary in the game still. Lots of protection. If you can get into Awaken 5, you're gravy. Retaliate hopefully has been fixed now. Really good defensive carry. It's kind of hard too, but yeah, very good unit. Would love to get him again. Quetzalcoatl, really good unit. Speed up, attack up, accuracy up, sharpen, lots of turn meter boost. Has a really big heal as well. He's passive. When he dies, he can revive 2 people. Just a really, really good support unit invoker. 21 speed aura 2. And then the king of the gods. Incredible damage dealer. Like, yes, his divinity gain will be less now, but he doesn't need it. His basic attack is what carries him. His core hits really hard. For what we know, he hasn't changed or been affected, which is why he thoroughly deserves to be in S tier. We got there. That is my tier lists for this alpha phase. Let me know how you feel in the comments down below. Hopefully you find this useful. Don't be disheartened if I've put your favourite unit lower than you would. Again, this is just an opinion, all right? But thank you very much for watching. Take care and look after yourselves. Work hard, but as always, play harder. And I will see you in another one soon. Cheers.